Once upon a time, in a small, cozy village nestled deep within a lush green forest, there lived a little donkey named Lou. Lou spent his days wandering among towering trees, tiny wooden houses, and the sparkling streams that meandered through the village. Every day, he watched the other animals playing and running around, yet his heart always felt empty, as if a distant voice was calling him from far away. He wondered, why must I live my whole life here? What lies beyond that dense forest? One early morning, when the dew still clung to the leaves like tiny gems, Lou decided it was time to follow his dream. He packed a small bundle, took a deep breath, and stepped out of the village. The thickets blocked the sunlight, branches stretched out like they were trying to hold him back, but Lou's heart was full of determination. He ignored the advice of the other animals, the squirrels, rabbits, and birds, who warned, "Lou, that forest is dangerous. No one ever dares to go there." Lou only smiled and followed the call of freedom. At first, the villagers, squirrels, rabbits, and birds alike, did not believe Lou could do it. They watched his small steps with a mix of astonishment and doubt. "He is so stubborn," whispered a rabbit to a squirrel. "Surely, he'll come back crying." But Lou didn't look back. Day after day, he braved the undergrowth, crossed streams, and climbed slippery slopes. Every time he stumbled, he reminded himself, "I must keep going. There is something wonderful waiting ahead." And, to everyone's surprise, after many days of trekking, Lou emerged into a new land, bathed in golden sunlight, filled with vibrant flowers, lush green grass, and the sweet scent of fruit in the air. When the news of Lou crossing the forest reached the village, the tiny community buzzed with excitement. Birds chirped, squirrels jumped up and down, and rabbits hopped around the pond, all talking eagerly. "Lou must have found a beautiful land where the grass is green and life is abundant," chirped a young bird. The animals who had once scolded him for being stubborn now admired him, seeing him as a symbol of courage, a pioneer daring to step out of the comfort zone that they never dared leave. Hearing the tale of Lou, a mischievous pack of dogs in the village became curious. They huddled together, whispering, their eyes sparkling with excitement as if they had just discovered a great secret. "If the donkey can do it, why can't we?" said one dog, and the whole pack agreed. The next morning, when the sun had barely dried the dew on the leaves, the dogs followed the faint scent of Lou's footsteps. Using their keen noses and natural hunting instincts, they carefully navigated the thickets and streams, traversing the very paths that only Lou had dared to cross. Amazingly, the dogs succeeded as well, creating a new chapter of excitement for the village. Seeing the dogs succeed, the rabbits, squirrels, and birds gradually became curious and began to follow. At first, only a few dared to try, then small groups, then entire families, stepping onto the tiny trail that Lou and the dogs had forged. Over the years, the footprints of these animals pressed the trail into a familiar path, becoming the main route through the forest. From the single footprint of Lou, the little path grew into the daily path of the entire village, and everyone believed that simply following it would keep them safe and lead them to better places. Time passed, and the village grew lively, but the turtle and hedgehog engineers were sent by the village council to survey the forest to expand the main route. They carried measuring tools, recorded maps, and studied every corner of the forest. When they reached the familiar trail that the animals used every day, all the villagers, squirrels, rabbits, and birds, gathered, pleading that the new road be built exactly along the old trail. To them, it was the only path they trusted, a path they had walked for generations, and the safest route they knew. The chief turtle engineer looked around and asked, "Why do you all prefer this path?" An old owl stepped forward, his voice raspy but firm, "Because this is the familiar path, the easiest one. We have walked it all our lives. We do not know any other way." The animals nodded in agreement, as if this were an unquestionable truth. No one remembered when they had first started following this path, they only knew that following Lou's footsteps seemed inevitable. The turtle engineer paused, then spoke gently, "You have been walking along a path created by the little donkey Lou many years ago without ever asking if a better path existed. You have followed the familiar route without realizing that new, shorter, and smoother paths might be waiting to be discovered." His words rang like a bell, awakening the entire village. For so many years, they had blindly followed the footsteps of another, never pausing to look around and ask, could there be a better way? Upon further survey, the engineer discovered a new route that was shorter, smoother, and easier than the old one the villagers trusted. With a little courage and curiosity, all the animals could have saved time and energy while traveling daily. Yet, over the years, no one dared to explore, letting familiarity and fear dictate their habits, missing the chance to discover something better. Finally, the village realized that blindly following the old path simply because it existed could make them miss great opportunities. The moral was clear: never follow a path just because it is there, dare to ask, dare to try, and dare to create your own path. One brave step could open a whole new horizon full of joy, opportunities, and success. From that day on, Lou became a symbol of courage and determination. The mischievous dogs, rabbits, squirrels, and birds learned to explore on their own, finding their own ways instead of walking in the footsteps of others. The village grew lively, with new paths winding through the forest, the chatter and laughter of animals filling the air, and their eyes shining with hope. Whenever a young bird or little squirrel asked, should we follow the old path, everyone would smile, looking toward Lou. Step forward on your own path. Be brave, explore, and create your own way, for that path will lead you to true happiness. The story of the brave little donkey, the playful dogs, and the entire village of charming animals became a legend, told and retold for generations. It reminded every creature, big or small, that courage to walk your own path often matters more than following a path already made. Each step of brave exploration could open a world full of colors, joy, and wonder.